appearing and can potentially be known by their characteristic at the present moment.
Sorry to interrupt, but Than Ajan, are you here now?
Yes, excuse me, I'm late. Yeah,
So,
I'm here now.
Thank you, Ajan. No problem.
thank you.
Okay, please carry on.
Ajan, would you like to add any points of Akhil question? Would you like to
I,
say?
From my
sorry, I didn't got the phone with me, just came back. I'm out. I was out, and then I just came back now. I don't know the question.
Okay. Perhaps, Akhil, you'd like to put your question again, and so that Ajan can hear it.
Sujin sir.
Yes, please.
Sujin sir.
Yes,
हाँ,
Akhil.
sir, मेरा इनसे question, sir, my question to him was that, sir, we always think about the ideas and situation, always, sir. But we never think about the present moment, sir. We never think about the present moment, and we always forget the present moment.
Sukin, can you turn your microphone off?
Papa, I think there's some interference around you, so.
Can put your question. We all understand your English is excellent, so just put your question again so that Ajan can hear it.
Sir, my question to Sarah ma'am was that, sir, we always think of the concept, situation, things, always, and we never forget to think about them. It's repeatedly thinking over them again and again. And why in the, like, when the Sangya is there, remembrance is there, why don't we remember the present moment? We always are lost in the stories of ideas and concepts. This was the question, sir.
Good.
Sir.
Maybe Than Ajan would say anything.
Okay, how long you are used to the conventional world? How long? For how long? More than 20 years, 30 years, but you see, we just think in terms of conventional things like flowers and on. But now we heard about the enlightenment of the Buddha, so we understand that we cannot understand his word instantly because it's so deeply about whatever is now appearing. See, we take it for I am speaking, I'm hearing, I'm thinking, I'm doing, but actually what is there? That's why we learn to listen to each word of the Buddha, which talk about what is now as it is, not as we used to take it for I and things at all. That's why what is now? From hearing the first moment about the truth of what is now, right understanding, begin to understand little and little about no I, no thing at all. The truth of what is now appearing is not known until hearing the teachings of the Buddha. For example, is there seeing right now? And if we just think about seeing somewhere and some time, it's not right at this moment. Seeing sees now, and no understanding of seeing, but what is meant by enlightenment. The truth of that which sees reveals itself as it's conditioned just to arise and see, only that, just to arise and see. No one there at moment of seeing. It's a reality which arises to see. Its characteristic is a reality. No one can make it arise without its proper conditions only. To condition moment of seeing right now, just see and then gone, instantly, unknown at all. The succession of the arising and falling away of whatever arises and falls away very rapidly condition the mark or the sign of something taken as people and thing and date and whatever is there. See, conventional world all the time, like the magician. How can he play so quickly? It appears not as the truth as it is at all. So this is the moment, each moment is different by conditions, arising and falling away, never to return. Is that true or not? This is just to think about it. Otherwise, what else should we understand the truth? Because even right now, seeing this moment is not the seeing a moment ago. And where's that? A moment ago seeing, never to be found again, never to arise again, not belong to anyone at all. Is that not true? Just listen to the truth of what is there now to understand what is meant by enlightenment. If there is nothing now, how can there be enlightenment, the truth of it? So understanding what's meant by enlightenment, there must be whatever is now is not known yet. And then there can be a moment of enlightenment, different from this moment of conventional world. Just consider what is true and what is not true, that's all. The truth can be understood because it's there now. Whatever is there can be known from hearing, considering, and then more precise understanding of just one reality at a time, my condition, until enlighten the truth of that deeply down. So very subtle, arising and falling away. Is that true or not? That is only what we can think about because it's now as it is. Is it not true or it's true? That's all. Is it true that there is now something we don't know at all? And not knowing its truth is a reality, different from the moment when there is the understanding of the truth of it. All are different truths.
Right.
And just before you came, Ajan, I was talking to Akil, and we were talking about how when one wishes so much that one wasn't lost in the stories and all the different fantasies, and when one wishes so much to have more understanding at the present moment, it shows so much the strong clinging to having certain results and to having understanding now. And the idea of I, or this person is there that should somehow be able to make understanding arise. And this is the real hindrance to the development of understanding of what appears at this moment, because one doesn't realize it's the strong clinging. And instead of leading towards the right path, it takes one down the wrong path, following Loba, the master, the idea of I who should be able to control life or should be able to understand better. So the point of studying Dhammas is to understand there is no person there. There is no I who can make anything arise, or back to Jyotica's point, no one who can watch or do anything. So seeing is conditioned now. Thinking about I or this story or that story is conditioned. Attachment now is conditioned. Understanding has to develop very naturally, and it has to understand that it's so different from when there is that strong clinging to understanding, hindering the natural development of just understanding what appears at this moment, no matter it's seeing, no matter it's clinging, no matter it's irritation, it's conditioned and it's gone instantly, not worth being disturbed about. When there's thinking, I wish I wasn't so lost in the stories and there should be more awareness, that thinking is just a moment of thinking and then gone, but it doesn't belong to me. Usually it's a story of I that there's so much preoccupation with. One's not bothered about whether someone else has more understanding. It's all about I. but it's a fantasy because there is no I. And the only way that the understanding can develop is by hearing and considering more about different realities that make up life now, in order to understand that each of those realities is conditioned, not in anyone's control. No one can watch it. No one can make it arise. No one can stop it. Each one arises by its own conditions. No person there at all. So this is why we come back to discussing and learning more about seeing at this moment, because who can stop seeing arising now? Who can make seeing see any particular object? It's conditioned and it falls away. And it's the same with what is seen. It's the same with every other reality. So gradually the understanding leads to less and less clinging to the idea that I can do something or I should be able to do something. Does that make some sense, Akhil?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this idea of I, me or myself, ma'am, how it is related to ma'am, ma'am, Kilesha? Is this the Kilesha, ma'am?
Have you heard about ditthi or wrong view?
Yes, ma'am.
When there's the idea that I can do, or this person can experience, or I should have more awareness now. Actually, it's the wrong understanding of reality taken for being I, or I can watch what is going on, as Jyotika was referring to. So attachment is there, but with the attachment there is ditthi, the wrong understanding about reality now, seeing now, which is not I or my seeing, hearing now, which is just hearing, not my hearing.
And this is particularly in the context of developing understanding or doing something. Because if it's just the I of I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I think I'll have a rest or something like that, that's a different context, and there's not necessarily any idea of self involved in a casual thought like that. But we are particularly talking here about developing the path and thinking, if I do this, then there will be more understanding, I will become a better person, that sort of thing. So it's in that context that there is an idea of self, the idea that I can do something that will bring about more awareness or understanding.
I got it, sir. I got my answer. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hi, Akhil. This is Robert. I met you and
Sir.
your wife a couple of years ago, and in the hospital in Bangkok, and also at the foundation.
Sir, I remember, sir.
Nice to see you. Yeah,
Sir.
Just a comment I would make is, I think the theory can be very important, because if we study the theory of what the Buddha taught about the arising and ceasing, elements are just arising and ceasing, then it's natural that we realize, at least at the theoretical level, that there can be no real control. And that there is no self there at all. So the theory, getting that fairly well established, does tend to solve a lot of problems. That's what I found. That once I realized from listening to Nina Van Gorkum, listening to Ajan Sujin, and studying all of the scriptures, it just makes sense that you can't control something that when there is no self, that things are just arising and ceasing purely by conditions, not by chance either. So that seems to develop a lot of patience with with our little faults and our flaws and our wishes and wants. I mean, we've been wanting and not wanting things for how many aeons. So I don't look for perfection at all. I just, there's just a way to sort of settle back and understand that things are happening according to conditions. So just my comment there. That's what I feel.
Thank you, sir.
And last week, I remember Ajan made one comment, or she asked one question. If there's no me, can there be any trouble? In other words, all the trouble in a day, all the trouble in life is because of that strong clinging to the idea of I that can observe, I can do something, I can change this moment now. So like Robert said, without the clinging to I, where is the trouble? Where is the disturbance? Where is the difficulty? One can take it easy, just let understanding develop naturally.
Right, ma'am. Right.
And ditthi, and this strong idea of self, it's the first defilement that has to be eradicated. Whilst there is the wrong idea of self, which there will be on and on until the first stage of enlightenment, there cannot be the eradication of any other defilement.
Right, ma'am.
So this is the biggest hindrance to the development of the right path, the idea that I that can control or do something.
But just to also repeat a comment I made earlier, the hindrance is not the thinking. The hindrance is the lack of understanding of what is real at the present moment. So it's that the Buddha explained to the world. What are those realities? And the fact that the understanding of what is appearing now, whether it's thinking or seeing or visible object or whatever, is the way to the gradual eradication of or the gradual development of understanding overall. Maeve has a hand up for a question.
Maeve, go ahead.
Hello, Sarah, Jonathan.
Hi, Maeve.
Hello. Sarah, I suppose this isn't so much a question, although I probably could express it as a question, but maybe just an observation that when it's the early days of understanding the Dhamma, it does seem as if we coexist in the world of conventional reality, where we are planning and doing and thinking in conventional ways. But at the same time, alongside that, there is the listening and the considering that arises from, say, discussions like this and hearing Ajan and reading. And so that conventional reality is kind of infiltrated with a different perspective. And I suppose it's natural that there is an imbalance until that understanding becomes stronger and clearer. Then the imbalance is more in terms of the conventional view of the world and myself doing something and planning and all of that. But it's like little by little, the idea of I and mine and self are both challenged and gradually eroded. But it seems like the challenge of that conventional perspective is probably going to be present for quite a long time. And that's often the frustrations that I think you hear expressed when, maybe we want to understand more, quicker, etc. It's just that the understanding is still developing, still progressing. I suppose if there was a question around that, it's how to be at ease with that, how to be at ease with that, living in the world of the Dharma, or understanding the world through Dharmic eyes, and the demands of conventional life. You know, how do we find a sense of ease in that relationship, if you like?
Well, just before Sarah answers, I think this is something that Robert was just talking about, that
yes, that's
for a
what
long
prompted
time
me.
one goes on with the idea that there's something to be done, or there should be something, or the situation should be different to what it is. There should be more understanding. The Dhamma should be more understandable than it is. But eventually there comes a degree of acceptance of the limitations of one's meager development of understanding.
And I think, like you say, it seems in the beginning, or more than at the beginning, seems like there's some conflict because one has to carry on with one's work and one's daily life and conventional activities. And then one begins to hear that there are just these different realities. So it seems in the beginning, oh, that means that maybe I shouldn't be following my work or my duties. But this is misunderstanding, because life carries on as normal. One carries on with one's work, with one's family duties, with one's housework, one's shopping. No change in the outward appearance at all. But like you said, whilst carrying on one's normal life, gradually there's more and more understanding that there are, in fact, just these different realities which experience an object, the namas, and the different realities that don't experience anything, the rupas, and that actually we're living in this world of ideas and concepts. And the more understanding, the less conflict, or the less there is the not being at ease, because one begins to realize, like I mentioned to Jodika, the problem is if there's no thinking about I am observing or I am watching, where is this I am watching? So it's just a moment of thinking. So gradually one learns that the dilemmas and the conflicts are just thinking about it, not understanding life as it is at this moment. But I think you make very good points there, Maeve. And it is, like we said at the very start, in the beginning, it's so difficult to see the value of understanding the truth of realities at this moment, and to see how life carries on as usual, but with more understanding that there is no one who can do anything in truth.
Yes, and I thank you, Sarah. Jonathan, I think that acceptance is a really important aspect, together with patience. You know, we talk about the value, the virtue of patience, and I suppose understanding more about the nature of patience is really valuable, because that's where our conventional idea of patience and patience in terms of the Dhamma diverge.
Exactly. And I think, as Sarah perhaps alluded to, I think part of the problem is that there's perhaps some misunderstanding at the beginning of the effect of understanding on the conventional life, because in many aspects the conventional life goes on as it was. So there's still thinking about the past and the future for the enlightened being. They're still planning for tomorrow. There's still the idea of these are my clothes and those belong to another person, and all these kinds of things that perhaps initially we have the idea that they are just conventional, and therefore enlightenment sort of somehow does away with them all. But it's not the case. And so that's also part of the the problem that you mentioned, that a lack of an idealistic idea of what the enlightened or the person of developed understanding is, and how he or she lives his or her life.
Yes.
I mentioned, Maeve, in another discussion that I listened to a part of an old recording, and Ajan was talking about patience, not just, for example, like we might think conventionally when one's irritated or annoyed about something, but patience with attachment, or when one loves something so much. And of course, what one loves most of all is oneself. So the idea that I can do something, or I should make awareness arise. So there has to be patience at those moments too, because those accumulated tendencies are so very deep. And like Ajan asked at the beginning, well, how long has ignorance and attachment been accumulated for? So patience when there's strong wishing, strong attachment, wanting the situation to be changed, because those moments of thinking are conditioned too. So there has to be patience.
Yes. Patience with the desirable and the undesirable. Thank you.
It's such a common idea that daily life is so distracting, and that's why people have the need to be away from daily life and wanted a retreat, because they think that may be make easier to develop understanding.
Mm. Mm.
Jyotika, go ahead, and you may like to also repeat your question at the beginning to Ajan also.
Turn on your microphone.
We can't hear you, Jyotika.
I have several questions, but the question came up in last week. Someone, a teacher, was talking about the Four Noble Truths and explained the first truth, which we are limited. We all are limited. And that's the question. And I found it very strange in the beginning. You have to explain a lot, because I heard always that it was the suffering. The first noble truth is about there is suffering, there is dukkha. And I understood that dukkha is much broader than physical suffering. It's me. But to explain the whole thing with we are limited. It is the limitation we have, and therefore we see we all are limited, and then compassion is arising. So I did not find back the whole thing about longing, desire, craving. That came not back. It was all on we are limited, and therefore everything is painful and whatever. So
it sounds to me as though the person is taking dukkha as referring to mental suffering. But as you correctly mentioned, the dukkha of the First Noble Truth refers to the unsatisfactoriness of conditioned dhammas. So that is, I think, a deeper meaning of the First Noble Truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So seeing now is dukkha, hearing now is dukkha, understanding now is dukkha, because whatever is conditioned arises and falls away instantly. So it's unsatisfactory, and no we to be limited or unlimited or to have anything. There are just these different realities which are conditioned, each one arising, falling away, no refuge of any kind, even panya,
and it is
falls
then
away immediately.
And then this dukkha is meant in the sense of unsatisfactoriness.
Yes.
So
Because it's the
all
first noble truth.
conditioned things are dukkha. All
Yes.
conditioned things are dukkha, but then dukkha is meant as all conditioned things are unsatisfactory.
Yes, this is the first noble truth, the truth that whatever any khandha, any conditioned reality arises and falls away and is unsatisfactory.
But in that sense, I could think that is a kind of limitation, unsatisfactory. You are not completely satisfied.
When you say you are not completely satisfied, but what
You.
is you to be satisfied or not satisfied?
Yeah, it's you, it's I.
It's I. It's
Yeah.
not the understanding of the reality, the nama or the rupa, which is conditioned and impermanent and therefore dukkha. So it's none of these belong to I at all, because like we discussed at the beginning, the I that is watching, the I that has this or that, is just part of one's imagination, just that which is imagined by thinking. It doesn't actually exist.
I learned that there are 8 loba mula chittas, 8 loba mula chittas for with ditthi and
Yes.
for without ditthi. Is it possible that does it mean that the people are born without ditthi?
The ditthi without without the accumulation of ditthi, only the Sotapanna or the Aryan disciple has no latent tendency, no anusaya of ditthi.
So if they are born as Sotapanna, then they have no ditthi.
No more the ditthi has been
no more ditthi. Okay, yeah.
I just want to say something, Sarah, when you're saying that there's a lot of upsetting because of this I. So what I think that all akusala that show the strength of akusala, like Sotapanna, we know that they already eradicate the wrong view. So what we saying that once get upset too much or attack too much and can do all akusala karma, all behind all reason of this is because of I. Because there's idea of I, like for example regret, for example Sotapanna may still have a regret, but Putuchon maybe have a lot of regret and so deeply regret, and it's behind, it's come from I that should have been done, that everything. So you mean one can kill person, saying lie or go to thief and all that, all of this because of I. Because if because I, that's why all akusala, I, because of wrong view is the behind the most, like for all akusala strength so strong. Like Putuchon can do any all kind of akusala. They can everything and maybe so deeply upset and suicide and all that because it's I, right? Because Sotapanna, although they like for example, like when Buddha passed away and Than Anon, that time he was Sotapanna, he also cried, but not that like would like Putuchon would like, or maybe deeply sad that one's love have gone away and maybe so mentally upset, depression, anxiety, and have to take medicine, or some may suicide. All of this come because of I.
No thought of I should have done this and I should have changed the circumstances and I shouldn't have thought in this way, because there's the understanding that all dharmas are conditioned, not I that can control anything. No thought about I should make more understanding happen than I shouldn't be thinking about this or that nonsense. So we can see that most of the disturbance in the day is because conditioned by that wrong idea that I should be able to control or change or make things happen. Like Akil was mentioning at the beginning, that there should be more understanding now and less thinking about this or that. So when there's no wrong view, no thinking in this way.
Because all akusala strength, that so much problem and all that kill, fighting and all is all behind the reason of all akusala, that is I.
The idea that there is another being that I can kill, or that
Oh, that person done something to me, I have to kill him and all, like this, like
that person is the cause of all my problems.
Mm-hmm. So, but because some may ask that, like suppose maybe an animal, just like suppose tiger hunt and deer, what is it to do with wrong view? Maybe if we didn't discuss deeply, but then because they can be killing and all other bad akusala, like so many level, it has to come from I. I is the behind of every problem.
Even when the tendency isn't conditioning the arising or wrong view, the tendency is there, and the accumulation of strong attachment, strong anger is conditioned enough to kill or harm. For the Sotapanna, no more rebirth in unhappy realms, such as the animal realm. And Jyotika, the question you asked at the beginning about someone watching and so on, is there anything else you would like to ask Ajan about, to repeat these points?
And you need to turn your microphone on.
Jyotika, you need to turn.
Jyotika, we can't hear you. Sorry, microphone not on.
No, but I want to wait for a while, because it's a lot to follow. But this idea from this, when the idea of I is seen, in my case, I see a lot of people around. I thought it looks that everybody has no idea about this idea of I. That it is really the most important thing what is there to understand. It is everywhere. So I feel very beginning that I have a glimpse and an idea, but every time I discover there's more to discover. It is everywhere. Then oh yeah, this is I bring it back to so many times. Yeah.
As I was commenting in response to another question, it's not every thought of I that presumes the existence of a self.
Yeah, I heard from you. The thing self is confusing.
So there's no need to get too worried about the fact that one thinks in terms of me and the other person, because that is a natural way of thinking.
But I know a person who is
talking about is the idea of something lasting that exists, that is not appearing at the present moment. It's an assumed aspect of our makeup that cannot be directly experienced.
That there is something lasting, something eternal.
Yes, and it doesn't appear. So what can be directly known is what appears. So there is seeing now and the visible object, and hearing and sound and the thinking. These are all realities that are appearing and can be directly known if there's awareness and understanding. So rather than worry about how much I is there, it's a matter of appreciating that the path taught by the Buddha is having a better understanding of what is appearing at the present moment. And it's
at the moment you are explaining, I see that that is again the I thinking, what is doing that thing.
Yeah, but
being the worry about I here, I there. That's also I again.
It's also worry, which is a reality, which can be as a characteristic that can be known. The I does not. It's an idea, an assumed sort of thing. So it's just thinking, different kinds of thinking, sometimes with wrong view, sometimes without. And the difference between those that are with wrong view and those that are without are not apparent to us at present, because we've only just heard about this kind of description of the world. So don't be too concerned about the thoughts that may come and go for now. But it's a matter of appreciating that understanding is relates to what appears now and can be directly known.
Yeah.
John, I think what you're saying that not that when we talk about I, not that it's always with wrong and this wrong view. There's three type of I: lopa, tiji, and mana, right? That's I with lopa is not I that wrong view or I with mana.
Well, lopa, ditthi, and mana. Lopa, mana, and ditthi are different mental factors, and they don't necessarily relate just to I. So when they are present, they can be known by their characteristic. But it's true that whatever the thought at the moment, it can be thinking with attachment, or it can be thinking with conceit. And when there's thinking with conceit, there's probably a lot of thoughts of I and me, as we sometimes say. And we know that at those precise moments, there cannot be wrong view, because it can't arise together with conceit.
Like my clothes and all that, it's not that, it's like lopa, with lopa, but not with wrong view. Like not that idea that with self, but just saying like seeing yourself in the mirror and say I or my, like that, right?
It can be just attachment to the way one is dressed or something.
And yeah, and when like Arahata or when they say I or Buddha say me, like that, it's just referring conventionally speaking, but it's reality we know it's just Nam and Rupa, Chitta, Chaitasic and Rupa.
Yes. Yes. Ajan, are you there?
Thanajan, are you there? Thanajan not here?
I'm here. Sorry, I didn't get on the microphone.
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to add to any of the discussions, Ajan?
I think that we talk more about everything, but not just about one reality at a time. For example, right now, no understanding clear about seeing whatever is now appearing. There is only just the idea, all about that which is now appearing, but not understanding. the nature of that as it is. For example, we use the word Dhamma, and it seems like everything is Dhamma because whatever is real has its own characteristic, and there cannot be just one Dhamma at all. So many Dhammas, uncountable. So how can we use anything for such that which is there, which is so true? So just the word Dhamma covers everything, which is now appearing, and it has its own characteristic. That's why without understanding it as just that with its own characteristic, not other thing at all, how can there be less clinging to the idea of that as something as before? When we talk just about other things, not just one reality at a time. For example, right now, there is seeing. See, it's conditioned because no matter why we are talking, there is seeing all day. It seems like that. But in truth, it's not like that. So remember the truth of everything. It's not just like it appears at all, even right now. So the truth is so very subtle, but it can be known. Each word of the Buddha from his enlightenment conditioned more considering, understanding, which will lead to direct experience and realize that each word of the Buddha is so true because they all come from his enlightenment. And that can condition such understanding better and better when there is more understanding of just one at a time. Seeing now is conditioned, but it's gone because at moment of hearing, there's no seeing, that very seeing anymore. Just that brings about the understanding of nothing is permanent at all. We just live with wrong understanding of everything seems it's still there from birth to now, to death, see. But actually, one lives in the world of not real, because it's just like the dream. After one wakes up, what's there in dream? Not at all, never be at all. So this is life from birth to death. This life is just like a dream, and next life is another dream, see. So the point or the truth, the absolute truth is that no one can condition this moment to arise, but it's there. And no understanding, ignorance, condition, clinging, and take it for something the whole life, no understanding at all. But from hearing the truth, consider, just consider. But one can see the trick of loka. It's there, not enough. Just hear this is not enough. How can I have more understanding? How can I let go this? See, it's there all the time. So it's the second noble truth, the lopa is there. If it's not seen as it is, it cannot be eliminated. It cannot be finally eradicated. See, that's why we learn to understand each reality in life at any moment at ease, because when it's not at ease, it's I. And lopa is there. That's very, very weak. Just want. See, even it's not like craving for something that it can show up, but it's there all the time, all day. See, understanding this, one begin to understand the truth of reality as there is no one, and learn to understand each one better and better, like the tricky lopa. See, in a day it's there at any time. Usually one craves for many things in life as usual, but after hearing the teachings, one would like to let go the idea of self. It's there again, see. That's why it's not at ease at all. At ease is the moment when there is understanding of no one at all. Whatever is there is a reality conditioned to be just at very moment and then completely gone. When there's more understanding of this truth, it let go, because this is the path, the Eightfold Path, very subtle, that no one knows how it works. All Cetasikas, the Eightfold Path there, works all the time. No one knows. It's like holding the handless knife. How long will it wear away to be shown as it is, and it's not as before? See? So this is the time, at the moment, at the period when there is understanding. It works, and life goes on. But Lopa is there, trying to get something there to be object of clinging. When and how can I know? See, there is still I. So when there can be the understanding, which is so keen enough to know where is the Lopa, where is the master, and we will not follow the master anymore. See, and that is ease anytime when there's no Lopa. So we understand from hearing again about each different ones and how it works its own way. Even Panya is now working. Who knows how much until it is very natural. But it takes time because at the very beginning, the path is rough, not just easy enough, or what to say, smooth enough. See, but as the Panya develops on and on, it's so very easy because there's no Lopa or attachment into it. Never mind how long there's no direct awareness, but when it's there, it understands that no one can make it arise, and it has to be such this way only, no other way. See, so that's why understanding more about what's now appearing is the only way. Like there is seeing, and we think about other things. What about understanding that seeing sees only that which impinges on it, not the whole range of light or color to be some sign or mark to take it for something at all. See, when there is more hearing, understanding, it's like not there are conditions for not forgetting what is there as it is, little by little. By conditions, so one understands that it's conditioned. So how can there be the idea of how can I do, or how can I have more understanding? Each moment of understanding is conditioned for more understanding. That's all. Is it easy now? Or not easy? Not at ease? Or just ordinary, just like before we talk about it? Whatever is there. Even an easy moment is conditioned and it's not self. There are different realities, akusla cetasikas and the anyasmara cetasikas. Learn more to let go more about clinging to it as it's still me. At moment of understanding, it's not there. And then it comes again by conditions. To understand that each reality is not self. Each one is anatta. Not anything, not anyone at all. Little by little. But when it's a long story about one thing, it takes one away from interest in its characteristic, which appears and then disappears. What appears now is not there anymore. And that can be directly experienced. But it's not with ignorance, but it has to be only highly developed panya, beginning now and on and on and on. Little by little. It let go itself. No one has to do the function of letting go at all. But since it has been accumulated so long, years and years, 100,000 years, so how can it be eradicated so very soon? But each moment of understanding, it let go. the clinging and ignorance, little by little. So now we know that what is there is conditioned. This is the beginning. No one can make it arise. What arises falls away unknowingly, but it can be like, directly known when Panya develop more. When there's no clinging, letting go now, who knows whether the Panya is enough to directly experience the truth, but actually such questions appears at the ignorance and not enough understanding of that which is now appearing. That's why sometimes I think when we use the word, that person does not understand Dhamma. It's not strong, it's true. Because if one understands Dhamma, knows Dhamma, there's no doubt, no attachment to have such result or to get rid of the idea of self. So it's so common to say, Dhamma is not known until Panya develops enough. Because there is seeing, but seeing is not known as it is. There is thinking, wishing, liking, not known. Because right understanding is not enough. Whatever appears gone, but no attention. Any reality right now. That's why we learn the different Cetasikas, different realities. Now each one works its function, performs its function. No one is there. So very quickly, all the time. Even this moment seeing is that moment of learning, considering the reality which experiences. See, it's in the book. It's said many, many times, but it's not the moment of beginning to study, beginning to learn the characteristic which now experiences an object, to understand the difference between that which experiences and that which is not experienced, which cannot experience anything. No one there. They are the absolute truth, absolute reality. No one can change their characteristics. Beginning to understand that from head to toe, what appears when there is touching only, even we talk about Vikara Rupa or Atha Rupa, but what can be the object in a day as that which cannot experience through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. Learn to understand all, whatever is there, from one to one, little by little. For example, at this moment, touching, it's that which what we are talking about from the very beginning to the end. It's there, so short, and then it's gone. And it can be known without Panya as usual when no hearing the word of the truth of the Buddha at all. Just touch, no understanding, taking it for something. But when there is understanding from hearing the truth, right understanding begin to understand it, depending on conditions, whether there can be understanding of this as just that. Just that means after there's no touching, after it appears, it's not there anymore, no matter where in the world or anywhere. The new one is not the same old one, previous one, all the time. the breaking world from moment to moment. And we can talk about the truth of the absolute varieties by many ways, different manners, by way of Tatu, by way of Ayatana, by way of Ariya Satya. They are the truth of what is there now. When understanding is there little by little, how can it be taken for something permanent as before? Stage by stage. Until this moment of what is there is not that which has been taken for something as usual. It's only that which can be seen. So very rapidly. Because the truth is so short, everything arises and falls away in split seconds. At ease, feel no trouble. And there is the understand the way it is, little by little. Jyotika, is there any question?
No, at the moment, I want to.
I think that when we have some foundation, basic understanding about the truth, we can read the Tipitaka and understand better and better. It's so clear and in details, much more details. Very, very beautiful, each word.
I studied the book Apr.2021 van Ajan.
Yes, from Tipitaka or from someone?
From,
She's referring to your book survey, Ajan, Survey of Paramattadhammas.
I think that can
very
be
beautiful.
reading from Tipitaka as well. And there's understanding enough.
Okay.
Because the Tipitaka is much more beautiful, so true in details. No matter you can think about how it's explained. And cannot imagine that Panya can bring such and such words.
And Akhil, does that make sense what Ajan was saying about being at ease? Because at the start you were talking about how one's always lost in different stories, but one thinks that because one studied Dhamma, there should be more awareness now. This is not at ease because it's the opposite of understanding what appears now, what is conditioned now. Does it make sense?
Yes, I understand that there is the I idea behind wanting more better.
If there is nothing arising at all, how can there be something which thinks? How can there be thinking or seeing or anything if nothing arises at all? So that which is conditioned to arise is there very short. And when there's no understanding, the rapidity, the succession of the arising and falling away condition the marks or the shape or the form, image of something, which is taken for something permanent, because not experiencing directly the arising and falling away of each one. So the understanding of it has to be just like it is until there are conditions enough to conditioned moment of understanding directly that which appears only one, not together like now. Because whatever comes together is the big world. How can there be the understanding of the arising and falling away of anyone? Because they are there all the time. But the truth is that whatever arises is conditioned, and all conditioned realities which has arisen fall away instantly. And that which cannot experience lasts longer than that which experiences. And Buddha showed the truth of this in the Tipitaka in details.
You too.
And as long as it's only thinking, considering about the words, if it's not wise considering, letting go, attachment is there, hinder the moment when what arises and what falls away. Because at this very moment, attachment is there because of not understanding the truth. So whatever is there, no matter what, is something when there's no understanding. And one knows that only understanding can let go the idea of something and understand more about each different one. Enough for awareness to begin to be aware of just one. And right understanding from intellectual understanding is that enough to begin to study, to begin to understand the truth, that that which is the object is seen or touched is not that which experiences. So the characteristic of that which experiences begin to show up little by little, that it experiences no matter what the object is, because at that very moment, the object which is experienced is not the object of understanding, because the understanding begin to understand the characteristic which experiences that is different from that which is experienced. The citta, the experiencing, is not the aramana, the object which is experienced. And this is the beginning to understand that what Buddha taught is daily life. Any time, any moment, it's there. But when the understanding is not enough, it cannot condition moment of awareness and understanding of that which is in daily life, very common in a day, until it's not common to ignorance, but it's common to right understanding. Beginning to change from ignorance to the understanding, little by little.
Yeah.
From now on, we understand that when we talk about the truth, it has to be that which is now appearing. No change. Nobody can change such truth at all. Because when it does not appear, when nothing appears at all, how can there be the understanding of that? The only moment which can understand it only when it appears, like hardness. See, stretching out the hand, nothing is touched yet. How can that which is hard appear? See, the truth can be found, can be known, can there be understood. When Panya develops enough, it's like thinking. You cannot select the thought to think about at all. All experiences has been accumulated, memory remembers everything, but it depends on the reality, which is vitaka, to lead to such object. And phassa, touch it. See, this is daily life, understanding more about different realities to develop the understanding of it cannot be taken for self, no matter what. So the food for panya is hearing, considering, reconsidering again and again by conditions, by seeing the value, the worth of understanding, the precious moment, which is different from ignorance, become more confidence of the truth. No wrong idea to try to do anything. It means that there's more confidence of anatta. No one knows self, no thing. Only that which is conditioned to appear like in a dream. And when panya is there, it's gone.
And Achan, like in daily, when someone like even us also, not only others I'm speaking for, even us all who have like trying to do something and all that, is just don't understand that it's Dhamma that are uncontrollable. I understand anatta-ness, the Dhamma that is a rise and is gone and perform its function. Nothing can be changed or selection or who can do like that.
Yeah, we keep on thinking about that which is so close now. It's here and now, and we just think about, learn about it until understanding is strong enough to understand at that very moment by condition the truth of it, its characteristic, and understanding the difference between the sati at level of intellectual understanding about the truth of that which is now here, so close, and the moment when that which is here and so close can be directly known. And that is not self. It's what we say, sammasati or satipatthana. Because patthana is the object of right understanding with direct awareness. So the understanding now is not direct understand yet of that which is so close. Until it does not go away, it does not go astray, but it's there at moment of appearing, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, thinking. All are there here and now, from moment to moment, gone. What is left is the dreaming, thinking about that which is gone, never to return, never to arise again. And this is the only way to let go the idea of self and the clinging to the idea of self or things. Because actually there's no self and no thing in truth.
Like understanding that it's just a Dhamma and arising, and not that anyone can do, but Dhamma performing its duty and function and go away and nothing to, never to return.
And where's that Dhamma?
Gone. Now every moment gone.
It's gone, where is it?
Yes, Achan?
Before it's gone, where is it?
It's just a short moment of arising and then fall away.
Far away, also very close. So close that no one can take it away from where it is.
Mm.
A different topic. Alan, a few weeks ago, before the session started, you mentioned a sutta, I think it was the Vaseta Sutta, about different species of different animals and humans. And I think it was referring to different jati, different births, different patisandhi cheetahs and karma, conditioning, different kinds of birth. And I think the conversation was cut short. Maybe you'd like to bring up the topic and ask Ajan to give more elaboration on the point. Would you, if you can remember, sorry to put you on the spot, if you can remember the question, perhaps you can.
It was a sutta about the Buddha was talking about different species of animals and the human, and that the animals are very diverse, but the humans are not diverse at all, not really diverse. They've got 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 arms, but actually in the animal kingdom, there's a massive diversity. And I just wasn't quite sure what the point of the sutta was, but maybe I didn't read it in full, but I couldn't see the point, because if most of the suttas, it comes back to the present reality, but I couldn't see what that had to do with the present moment.
What is the present moment now? Is it different from that you are talking about?
No, the present moment is seeing, sound.
See,
So what?
sound is sound no matter where and when.
Yes.
The sound of bird, the sound of music. See, sound is just sound.
Yes.
And hearing is only that which hears it.
Yes, yes.
No matter what you call it, animal, human being, deva, or whatever, see is only seeing. It cannot be changed.
Yes. So the difference between the species is just thinking, really, then. The realities are the same.
Ellen, if I can make a comment here.
Yeah.
Is this from the Digha Nikaya, is it?
No, it's a Sutta Nipata.
Okay. And can you say it to me? What's the name of the sutta?
Oh, I can't remember now off pat. He was just talking about the different species of animals, and but the human species wasn't diverse at all, and I just didn't see the point of it.
Okay. What I would understand by that, and Ajan has alluded to this, is that it's talking about the variegated nature of species of creatures. We're all very, very different, and that reflects the different accumulations and tendencies. You know, you go to some of those birds in New Guinea where they've got those incredible colours, etc., etc., etc. You know, really big, really small, and this just reflects the incredible nature of Vipaka too. You know, that when there are, as you said, the human species is just pretty much the same. You know, 2 heads, 2 arms. Sorry, 1 head, 2 arms, 1 leg, etc. It's all pretty straightforward. You know, obviously, some very beautiful, some very handsome, some etc., etc., etc. And that reflects the nature of karma and reflects the nature of Vipaka. That's from a past birth. You know, this body we have is determined by the previous birth. So. And it's the same with creatures too. You know, it just reflects the incredible variegated nature of chitta and how it manifests by way of rebirth. So, and all chitta and all different suttas, they have, you know, that's why I want to know that one, perhaps have a quick look at it. There will be a reason. Somebody may have been asking about that, or somebody wanted to make, wanted to find out about something. And then the Buddha would have probably brought them back to what really is important. But sometimes he didn't always speak about perhaps Nama and Rupa. He will talk about all sorts of things. You know, people were interested in those times, as I'm sure, like we all are.
Yes.
And so I just think it's reflecting the nature of who we are and the nature of things at that particular time. But if I knew the sutta, or if you can send it off to me, I'd like to have a look. I'm curious. Always love looking at different aspects of the teachings, and something may come out from it for me also, and that I can share later on, perhaps.
Okay, I'll go back to it and have a look. I know which page it was on. I think, as you said, that there was a question which prompted it, and the question, as I understand it, was the fact that some people think they're superior than other people. I think it came from conceit, and this idea of conceit, and that's what prompted it. So yeah, I'll go back to the sutta and have a look and read the whole thing. It's quite long actually, and I'll post the actual sutta onto the DSG, so you can have a look. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure by species it's referring to different jati. So the moment of birth, depending on all the karmas are conditioned for all the different kinds and natures of birth at that moment, all the accumulated tendencies, as Sundra said, and different karmas are bringing their different results. But I think the point is, it's a bit like if one reads about different people, but the truth is that, as Ajan mentioned, seeing is just seeing, no matter it's the peacock seeing or the monkey seeing or the human seeing. Actually, there's just seeing, and in truth, there's no peacock and no monkey and no human and no body, just different realities, but without any understanding of dharmas. It's like when one reads the Jatakas, one just thinks one's reading about different people or different animals or different species, but actually whatever we read is about different realities.
And Alan, I think that because all of us has been accumulate a lot of ignorance and wrong view, even just when to say no harm, but the strong clinging in like many years before and all that, and a lot of ignorance. Like if even though we hear now, we can't suddenly eradicate the idea of the clinging that strong, that there's still my arm, my legs, or my face, or whatever. It has to be little by little. Even like right now, it's not possible to just the clinging of no me, no Harji, no Sarah, no John. It's not easy. It's what eradicate is panya. So it has to be the enough understanding, where like Thanachan say that the seeing is just seeing. It doesn't have peacock see or human seeing and all that. And when we think that animal have so many different fish and mammals and whatever, insects and all that, even to idea of self and all that, it's so hard to eradicate. Right now also we're talking with the self that there's no self. Actually all the time is with self only. It's because the clinging is so deeply there.
Yeah. Yes, I can get that. I'll have a look at the sutta again and see if I can get a reference and then put it onto DSG, and then people can perhaps comment on it and then look it up and read it for themselves. But it just normally I can see where it's going with these suttas, but this particular one I wasn't quite sure what the point of it was. But, yeah, I'll look at it again and put it onto DSG. Thank you. Thank you.
Maeve, go ahead.
Yes, just in relation to, I suppose, translating from the stories that we hear from the sutras, etc., into what's the nature of the realities that's being referred to. I was thinking about the story around Angulimala, and when he was pursuing the Buddha with the intention of actually killing him, and called out to the Buddha to stop, and the Buddha says to Angulimala, "I have stopped. Why don't you?" I'm interested in that nature, the nature of stopping. How do we understand that in terms of a reality or realities? And what is it that stops? We know that it is not a who that stops, but what stops?
It's the akusala that stops.
The final eradication of all defilements. So in other words, it's the stopping of the rounds of samsara, on and on, because of the eradication of all defilements, no more becoming at the end of that life.
May, excuse me, I think what mean by stop is that you mean that although Onkuliman was trying to kill Buddha, but Buddha was walking and Onkuliman was running, and then Buddha said, and Onkuliman stopped and told Buddha, please stop, and then Buddha said stop. I think what it is that Buddha said that I stopped in all doing all akusala and all killing and all that. So I'm the one who already stopped, but you on the other hand going to kill is killing everyone and all that. So you are not the one who stopped. And he gets so so pleased that, oh, Buddha come here to like teach me, rescue me from doing bad things. So yeah.
And Maeve, Angulimala had accumulated a lot of panya, and the Buddha knew that. He knew that he had those accumulations. He was actually going to at the Buddha. His mother, Angulimala's mother, was going to come to warn him, to tell him that the king's men were out and about for him. They'd had enough of his behavior, and the Buddha knew that if that fellow, and he would have killed his mother. He would have killed his mother. He was he had so much akusala going on, and the Buddha knew that if he did that, he would not be able to understand the Dhamma. He would not be able to penetrate the level that he was subsequently able to. That level of, it's called Antaraya Kamma. That's one of the words, or a Guruka Kamma, which would, like in the case of Ajatasattu, who would accumulate a lot of panya, as had Angulimala. The Buddha knew this, so that he went there to that forest where Angulimala was living, because he knew he had the prerequisite conditions necessary for enlightenment. Otherwise, he would not have wasted his time. So and the Buddha used his psychic power to give the impression to Angulimala that he was going really fast. In actual fact, he was just going very slowly, and Angulimala could not catch up with him, and he got really frustrated and called out to him, "Titta Samana, stop, monk, stop." And the Buddha said that he had stopped. He had stopped. And the Buddha often used this kind of language to, like in the case of vegetarianism, when he was asked once if he was a vegetarian, and the Buddha said he was. And the people could not understand that, because he gave a different flavor to the meaning of the word. In the case of that sutta, the sutta which deals with eating meat, it's called the Amaganda Sutta in the Sutta Nipata, where this fellow Tissa asked him about, is he a vegetarian? And the Buddha said he was. Let's read it. Well, of course, they did not have, I don't want to go on too much, but in the time of the Buddha, they didn't have the word vegetarian. They had the word amaganta, or a smelly person. You were considered smelly if you ate meat. And the Buddha said, he was definitely not a smelly person. His behavior was pure, was correct, was in accordance with Dhamma. And then the people asked, because as in all cultures and all times, people make a lot of hinge on the fact of what you put into your mouth. And as we know, this is so today. People make a really big thing about being a vegetarian, or being not, of pure, of what you put into your mouth, as they do in India today, or in the West today, about kind of food. So, and I've kind of got away from that a little bit, I realized, but it's about behavior. And when the Buddha said to Angulimala, he was talking about behavior. Like in the case of the Amaganda Sutta, they talk about behavior. What's the most important thing? It's behavior. It's not the externals or the rituals that you do. It's your behavior. That's the most fundamental thing. And unfortunately, Angulimala had been in with the wrong company, and that wrong company had told him that he had to kill all these people or get so many so many, literally Anguli Mala literally means, Anguli means a finger of, Mala means a necklace of he had accumulated he had about 900, well over, near enough to 1,000. That's what he wanted for his teacher. He had this really weird idea that he needed to kill these people. And he also had the accumulation for eating human flesh, which is quite unbelievable. But he had that accumulated, that tendency in previous births to eat human flesh. So he had a proclivity to that. That was one of his accumulations. But anyway, he subsequently met the Buddha, and he ordained him with what's called the Ahibhikkhu. And when he came back to eventually came back to Sawati and to Jetavana, he was not recognized. He was not known. And when the king even came to see the Buddha, and he said to him, I can't go on, I'm sorry. I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sundara. I think it was that the moment when the Buddha asks the Gulimana to stop, and he understands what the Buddha has said to him. I'm interested in what is the reality that has arisen there, because we were talking about there's the conventional level that we understand these stories on, but there is also underneath that there is the description of the realities that are involved in the story. And
if I can just say to that, the Buddha had a graduated discourse. He would not have jumped in right at the beginning about the reality that appears. He would not do that in this particular case. He would have talked to him, and he knew that Angulimala had accumulations for wisdom, but eventually he must have got to that truth. And we probably see that in Angulimala Sutta if we look more closely. But in the beginning, that would not have been the case. But he knew with his vast accumulations that what he was doing was wrong, that this was inappropriate behavior. And so, that's a good question to consider, obviously. And but in the beginning, the Buddha was talking to him about behavior, and subsequently he would have built upon that aspect of kusala, and he would have, with his accumulations, understood clearly what the Buddha was saying in terms of what the present reality is. Anyway, sorry, you're going to say something.
And now, in truth, no one can stop, no one can change, no one can do anything, but Panya can develop. So Panya can develop, and gradually the development of Panya leads to the gradual removing of the defilements. So it's talking about Panya, now.
And it must be a very highly developed level of Panya in the context of the path that Angulimala had taken for something.
The Panya which eradicates all defilements, but it begins with the Panya now that over lifetimes accumulates to that point of completely eradicating defilements. So actually it's talking about Panya.
In the beginning, Maeve, he was not enlightened straight away. He went back to Jetavana with the Buddha, and it was subsequent times and obviously subsequent discussions and hearing the Dhamma, considering the Dhamma, that he was able to become enlightened. So at that particular time, when he went into the forest, he was not enlightened then. He was, that's my understanding. So it was subsequent times, but the Buddha did, perhaps Ajan may be able to elaborate on that, because he was ordained with the Ahibhikkhu, which means that he appears with the 8 requisites. His head is back to about 1 inch, head and beard is shaved. He has 3 robes. He has the other requisites, the bowl, etc. So he went back to Jetawana with the Buddha, and I don't believe that he was fully enlightened at that stage. So it would have been a process between living in the forest there and doing his business and going back. So it wouldn't have happened, I don't believe, straight away. But perhaps Tanajan Cup, are you able to elaborate on that a little bit?
I think that even we know, we will forget. It's not just like understand what appears now, right? All stories must be forgotten after death or before that, because it's not the understanding of that which is not so, which is now appearing. This is more important, because what about last life? We have heard about this story, and what about this life? Not even remember. See, just read again and again and again, and so on. So the best thing in life is to understand the truth that what is now appearing is taught by the enlightened one, that it cannot be taken for anything because it's not there anymore. Even at moment of touching right now, it seems like there is hardness, but actually even that arises and falls away so very rapidly, so very tiny, not as the head to the toe at all, not as just moving one's arm or anything at all. It is a world of nothing, but that which is so very little, very, very tiny, so very, very short. Otherwise, there cannot be the eradication of the idea of self or thing at all, because it's so very deeply rooted from life to life, uncountable life. So even at this moment, it's not me, it cannot be taken as anyone, but as long as it does appear as it is, that cannot be the panya, the right understanding, which can just let go the idea of self, stage by stage. So I think that the point of reading the Tipitaka is to see that life is not permanent, and there are different conditions from life to life, to be arahata or to be bandit or to be the killer or to be king or whatever you say, just very short. And then an animal, an insect can be followed. Who knows, see? So this life is so very valuable when there is time to understand what is there now, even little by little. But without, how can there be more? Or how can there be condition for understanding with direct understanding, awareness of just a reality at a time? But even so, that reality is only nimitta of that which is shorter than arising and falling away. See, if you don't be reminded about this at all, we just keep on clinging to Onkalimala and the story and so on. Even it's told about it and read carefully, it cannot be remembered next life or even before that. See, it's not just like understanding about that which is now appearing, hardness, see. And when it's time to understand, it is direct awareness, no doubt about what is meant by the stage of sati, see. And when it appears as it is, it's different from the very beginning of directly understanding with direct awareness. That's why I listen to the teachings and know that the best moment in life is listening carefully, and panya develops by itself with other sankhara khanda, to understand more about each sankhara khanda, to see that actually there is no one who can condition hassa, to touch, to impinge, or whatever we use the word, but we can understand the function of that which experiences an object in different way. Not the way of panya, not the way of citta, but by its own way. See, no one there at all. Can phassa know that it is phassa? See, the word for understanding, considering. Thus, Hassa knows that it Hassa, context.
No. What knows is Panya, right?
Panya understand it, but cannot understand anything. It just context.
Oh, yeah.
Can Panya attached to something?
No.
That is Panya. See, different moment in life, so very close. And only Panya can understand the truth of that which arises and falls away. It seems like no gap in between these reality at all. But actually, Buddha said about the gap, the bhavanka in between. So much to understand in order to have more confidence of reality as of self. Let's
And I
talk about
think,
and understand a little better on and on.
and I think this was Akhil's point at the beginning, that usually we're lost in the world of different stories and dramas, no matter what kind of stories and dramas. And what about the understanding of what appears now? But it's anatta, no one who can understand, no one who can do anything. And each reality now is conditioned. So whatever we read about, actually it's about now, because that's all there is. No one can change it. No one can make Panya arise. But gradually, there is more living at ease as understanding begins to understand at this moment.
And it's not that it's someone that thinks and all that is Dhamma, firstly. Then otherwise it cannot eradicate the clinging that, oh, I and can do, because it's not like, you have to understand that it's Dhamma and it's not you, and it's by condition uncontrollable.
So Dika, thank you very much, Ajan, and everyone.
Thank you, Sarah and John, John,
Everyone.
Bye, Nate. Nice to see you. Bye, Bye, Han. Bye.
Yes, it's helpful when you raise your hand, and then it's kind of like you